actually had your quite interesting conversation. Your name came up. Oh, that's good. Do you know Brian Donovan? A good friend of mine who's helping me vote on my team. Come on, listen. And I didn't know how to play. Yeah, that's what I thought. I would say, to not fairness, I think that it was multifaceted. I think that there was days back in the day, I think it was had a conversation. Or we had not released yet.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dawn Patrol. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Eileen Delrossi is on the phone, and we have Anthony Leite, our guest. Anthony, I was thinking about your name. Are you of German extraction? Did you come here via Pennsylvania or the Midwest?
No, and I do want to make another correction too. I think they did this at the actual meeting, and I've known Eric Gitcher for a while, so it's actually pronounced late, like late for an appointment.
Oh, late.
And that's correct. And it actually derives from, it's a Portuguese name. It means milk in Portuguese, and so my father is Portuguese. He was born there and was a proud American once he came here, and then my mother is from Irish descent.
Ah.
So just remember, like late for an appointment.
Late. Why did I glom on like, I wonder?
I don't know.
I always thought you were Italian.
No. European, of course, but no.
He's American.
American first, that's correct.
I've been into Ancestry.com.
My sister
And
did
so
that.
I've been, so DNA Ancestry, it like tracks you back, like all your like roots when you submit like a sample of your DNA. And it's interesting to see the different parts of Europe that your ancestors are from and so forth. And so I like learning about all of that stuff. So that's why I was intrigued, because I really, really thought you were Italian the whole time.
Well, that's definitely not an insult. I'd have to say that the Italian culture is one to observe and appreciate. But nope, Portuguese and Irish.
So Anthony, it's 17th District?
That's correct.
Okay. Because the names mean nothing to me. I just go, whose seat are you trying to fill?
Yes.
Okay.
The numbers are new to me, and I'm old.
Well, a little history. Back when we were under the British in 1660, the English Restoration, Charles II is restored to the throne of England, Scotland, and Ireland. In 1733, the rate of settlers in New France to enslave natives is upheld in Quebec City, or Quebec City, I guess. 1790, Rhode Island became the last of the North American original 13 colonies to ratify the Constitution and become one of the United States. In 1851, Sojourner Truth delivers her famous "Ain't I a Woman" speech at the Women's Rights Convention in Akron, Ohio. So that's back in 1851.
Wow, we're moving along quick today.
Yeah.
We're almost in the 1900s.
1886, pharmacist John Pemberton places his first advertisement for Coca-Cola, which appeared in the Atlanta Journal. In 1919, Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity is tested. So that was moving along well. In 1932, World War I veterans began to assemble in Washington, D.C. in the Bonus Army to request cash bonuses promised to them to be paid in 1945. 1935, first flight of the Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighter. 1953, Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norgay became the first people to reach the summit of Mount Everest. It was Tenzing Norgay's 39th birthday. 1874, G.K. Chesterton was born, English essayist, poet, playwright, passed away in 1936. Bob Hope was born on this day in 1903. John F. Kennedy, our 35th president, was born on this day in 1917. And Barry Goldwater passed away on this day in 1998. And Andrew Greeley, American priest, sociologist, and author, passed away in 2013. I read his book, Ugly Little Secret, in which he argues that the oldest prejudice in the United States is not against blacks, it's against Catholics. And there was a little bit of that. Today is the International Day of United Nations Peacekeepers. So there we are. And the flags are at half-staff. The first for Boston firefighter Robert Cudiff, Jr., who's set to be buried on the 1st of June. He died in the line of duty. I understand he fell off the 3rd floor of a building that was on fire?
That's correct. And if I may interject, what a good man, phenomenal firefighter, phenomenal union brother, very influential, just a good man all the way
Family
around.
firefighter.
Yes, 100%. Father, grandfather, and we will be supporting him with as Lowell, and we're going to be going down there with Tewksbury as well. And I have to say, a huge loss for all of us.
You knew him personally, Anthony?
I did. He was very, very much involved with the union at the PFFM level, and just like I said, all the way around, one of the most phenomenal people you could ever meet. So, God
That's
rest
really
his soul.
what it sounds like, just even from the news outlets saying that. But I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss.
I appreciate that. More importantly, I hope everyone says a prayer for him and his family, please.
He was a Marine before he was a firefighter?
That's correct.
Yeah. Is this a path, Marine to firefighter?
I think it's just a continued path to service.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think firefighter. I know a lot of Marines and other police and so on, but yeah, honorable path.
So Barney Frank is the other person the flag is at half-staff for, and he is to be buried on Monday, the 8th of June, and the flag will remain at half-staff until sunset on that day.
Where's he being buried?
I don't know.
Understood.
That's a little too deep into the details for me.
Well, whether it's Massachusetts or Washington.
I think he's been buried in Massachusetts.
Key word there. Thank you.
Yeah, well, not everyone does.
I know this probably sounds ignorant, but what was Barney Frank's big contribution to life? I'm not familiar with them.
He had the most gerrymandered congressional district I've ever seen. He was.
Can you explain that in English?
I did.
Gerrymandering district.
Well, I do have to admit, if I may, that's not one of Cliffisms. That is, gerrymandering is a very well known, I guess, strategy of trying to formulate
So what does
voting.
gerrymandering mean?
Well, it's named after the Massachusetts governor, Jerry.
Okay, let me just back up for just a second. Gerrymandering is picking everybody who loves Eileen Delrossi, finding out where they live, and connecting all those neighborhoods together from here to Cape Cod so they can vote for you. And they call that your district. It's not a square around your house. It's a lifeline to all your friends through every district. It can be a straight line, it can be crooked, it can go around the block. It only goes to your friends' districts. That's what gerrymandering is. They only pick neighborhoods that love Eileen Delrossi.
And who doesn't
Okay, I
love,
like that.
and who doesn't love Eileen?
Everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Webster.
Thanks.
So,
I'm going to start gerrymandering now.
And
So-
this guy, Bonnie Frank, he was mostly known for being the first outwardly
Openly.
gay guy who was a U.S. Senator.
Representative.
Oh, Cliff is fantastic. God bless you, Cliff.
He
I thought he was a U.S. Senator.
dropping no.
He got a lot more publicity than Kennedy in the day.
Yeah.
When Bonnie Frank spoke, he got on the news before Teddy Kennedy. So I thought he was a senator.
He
But I'm mistaken. Thank you for the correction,
He's
Cliff.
dropping a book later this year in which supposedly he calls on the Democratic Party to move a little more to the center. So that should be interesting when that comes out. By the way, John asked me a question. Am I going to read Dr. Joe Biden's book? No. That's
Because Ellen and I were talking about it. I says, don't worry, Cliff will read the book. So, okay. She's not going to buy the book either.
no. So I had a question because I thought Jose Cervantes was coming in, but
He had real work today, so.
we'll try it anyway. Birthright citizenship is going to the Supreme Court. It's a legacy of feudalism, according to William Blackstone.
What's the definition that's going to the courts? Birthright citizenship, what's the definition of it that's going to the courts?
The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case.
And what is the definition of birthright citizenship?
If you are born in the United States, you are automatically a citizen.
Understood. If that's what they're going to go after, good for them.
So the question is, should we allow it? And this is all turns on the 14th Amendment. What do you think? Should we have birthright citizenship?
Well, I mean, the way that it was first written in the Constitution, I think that definition has to evolve if we are going to have a discussion on it, because how it was first written, there was intent behind it, and I think that it's now just kind of been carried over that if your foot's on the soil, or if you're even flying over, from what I understand, you have birthright citizenship. So should we have a discussion and even clearly define that even further to fit, I think, a little bit more of today's standards, or what the expectation is? Yeah, of course. I think discussion's important.
I think the parents have to be, I think the mother has to be living here for the pregnancy.
I don't
Yeah.
think living here, as long as they're just here, especially because in most cases,
Well, then, I think they gotta be here to be pregnant.
oh yes,
They have to be
physically
here.
physically yes, but I don't think there's a limit of that duration of time. I think it's just if they're here and they give birth to it, then that baby was born on soil.
I don't, I think it should be the complete, myself, should be the complete pregnancy. In other words,
The full 9. Okay.
yeah, you got these Saudis who are coming over here getting birthright, and they come over here just for the birth and they go right back home.
And when we can discuss that further again, this is important discussion. If you're born on an American base anywhere around the world, you're an American citizen. So
Yes, I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, but you have to go down to the embassy and register.
yes. And the reason why I make mention of that is when we have military personnel with families and they do give birth, they're not having to chase that too much. Their child's born on base and they are American citizens. So again, we should better clearly define it and make sure we have parameters if that's what we're looking to do.
That was a big issue when John McCain ran for president because he was born in Panama.
So is the United States the only state, the only country that does this? Or, like, if I'm born in Germany, do I automatically get birthright citizenship?
Yeah. So I have a son who was born in Germany, and if he was in Germany at the right age, they'd draft him as a German citizen.
Oh, interesting.
But
Anthony has a friend who was born in Germany, so that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Just for the record, not this Anthony.
Yeah.
My son Anthony. I'm sorry.
I figured.
So I am wondering if we're turning into England. The Cambridge City Council voted to end the use of shot spotter devices throughout the city.
In Lowell?
No, they voted for their own city, Cambridge.
I didn't hear the Cambridge part. No, I think Lowell has them. I think it's a good idea.
The paper said the vote comes after years of debate over the benefits and potential risks associated with the technology, which listens for gunshots and quickly alerts the police if they're detected.
I'd like to see the numbers on that too. I'm going to look a little deeper into that. I think it's very important to see statistically what has been the improvements on not only identifying those gunshots, but being able to quickly find out where they're from. Because again, anytime we have recording devices, either being by video or audio, we always have to be a little concerned because it could always be built further than what the intent was and where it started from.
Well, that's true.
Because look at the Patriot Act. It was in good intention when it was first implemented, and sometimes it can go the wrong way very quickly if we're not careful.
Yeah. So I worry that we're showing unusual deference to communities of color at the expense of the overall population. We're turning into to be like Rotherham in the UK, where there was grooming gangs going for a couple of decades. So
Just to explain what a shot spotter is, when you fire a gun in the community, the police automatically know the GPS address of where that gun was fired.
Coming more local, what do you make of the Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner, the oyster fisherman with the silver spoon in his mouth?
I don't think of Maine too much, Cliff. How about the Maine firefighter that got killed in the line of duty? Are they going to have a huge funeral for that guy? Is the nation going to go to that funeral? Disappointing.
Yeah.
He's a firefighter. He lost his life fighting the fire. And he's going to get a lackluster performance by the National Firefighters Association. Slap on the face to those guys.
Well, anyway, our senior U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren seems to like him. Nazi tattoo and lack of sympathy for others notwithstanding. But, have you been following any of this, Anthony?
No, I am not. Not directly, no.
It does not seem like a good thing. Eileen, you had a item about some lady who killed her boyfriend and his friend.
Mackenzie Shrilla.
Yeah, tell us about that.
She did
She's
it.
from Strongsville, Ohio, and a Netflix documentary recently came out about it, so it's been really all over YouTube and the internet. But intriguing to see this young lady and how it would look like an accident, right? That she drove into a building, she was hurt too, but even like the way she drove into the building, it decimated the car. It literally broke the car into two. And so her boyfriend was killed, and there was reports of her saying that she was going to basically end him in a car just 2 weeks prior. And one of his good friends was also killed. She lived and TikToked her whole hospital experience. She thought she was going to be a model, but the evidence later found out that she pushed down the gas pedal to 100 miles per hour for 5 seconds. I mean, I think anybody who's been in a crash or an accident, I mean, I hit a utility pole and the right side of the car was affected. But if you were to see this car, it was literally mangled. Two boys killed instantly. Mackenzie lived, but later all this was discovered. But the fact is that there's jail time phone calls released now. The parents keep going on social media campaigns to free her, but her prison record has not been very good either. She keeps getting in trouble in prison. So it kind of shows that prison is probably the best thing for her and to be away from her parents, I think. But there was a lot of controversy that people would say that she didn't do this, she was hurt too. But the judge pointed out that she went from very controlled driving, because it's seen on camera, to literal hell on wheels. And so it's the fact of her mindset. And so I've been intrigued by all of this for the past week or so, learning about it. And the phone calls from prison that's released are exceptionally unique, and it's just like her and the mother more or less feel like it's a way for her to be famous, even if she is in jail. So it's pretty sick and twisted.
I'm trying to think how she thinks she's going to survive hitting a wall at 100 miles an hour. I mean, she is very lucky, I would think.
Right, which the judge said, even if you were suicidal, you still ended up killing Dominic and Davian.
No.
And so it doesn't matter, even if she was, and just seeing how things have unraveled. I'm going to send John a picture of the car so you can see.
Oh, that's good. John, if you put up that text, we'll read it and respond.
isn't it coming up? Okay, try this guy.
All right.
Are you going to read it out loud, Cliff? What are you going to do?
I'm going to try. Another pathological liar to the American people and the citizens of Ms. Elizabeth Warren.
Citizens of Mass.
Oh, of Mass. Yeah.
M.A. Citizens of Ma. Elizabeth Warren is a swamp creature who can't be trusted. Oh, what happened? Here's another one. Good morning. I hope Colonel Krieger is going to bring up the interview. Dr. Joe Biden, it's incredible the amount of lies she told the American people. That's from Jay. And then he continues, did Mr. Krieger enjoy Vice President Harris's book?
Well, I found it interesting. I'm not sure I enjoyed it. So,
May I ask you what you found interesting?
well, just kind of her mindset and her views. And now we have the autopsy of the 2024 election. I think Kamala Harris was boxed in by Jill and Joe Biden, and she was not in a position to be her own person and to deviate, to throw out new ideas. She was expected to toe the line. And I think that was the autopsy says she lost because she didn't demonize.
The what?
The
Autopsy?
Yes. Previously mentioned autopsy.
Terrible
Democratic
word to use, Cliff. Continue.
Of the 2024 election, said she didn't demonize Donald Trump enough. But I think that the real problem was she was not able to break free from Joe Biden.
America really hasn't realized that girls like a bad boy. They just do. Girls like bad boys. And the worse you make Trump, the girls love him the more. And the girls can be 18 or 88. Girls like a bad boy.
Yeah. Now, Jill, yesterday in the interview, the highlight was during the debate between President Trump and President Biden, when he sort of slipped off the rails and said something to the effect of we've beaten Medicare, that Joe Biden said she wondered if he'd had a stroke. But she didn't act like he'd had a stroke. At the end, she came out and instead of rushing him to the hospital, she spent time saying what a good job he'd done and how he'd answered all the questions. And so, yeah, I was, Jay, I was not impressed with the snippets I got of the interview, and I don't think I'm going to read Joe Biden's book. I'm going to read Barney Frank's book. That's my plan. Do you have any thoughts on why Kamala lost? I mean, they had so many votes in 2020.
I mean, do I think to a certain extent she was set up for failure from the beginning? I think so. I think that they focused more on getting endorsements from people of notoriety and name recognition, and they kind of lost touch of representing the working class. I think that more time was spent on getting superstars, on speaking on her behalf, rather than getting back to the kitchen table discussions that made the Democratic Party such a good representative of the unions. I think they also set her up for failure when they didn't have a primary. So And I think you're right. I think she was definitely beholden to the prior policies, and there wasn't a lot of what she planned on doing going forward. I think if she was to differentiate herself with her own platform, I think people would have seen her for her own identity and potentially gave her a little bit more of a chance. So I think there's a lot of contributing factors. I think it could have been a little bit well performed if, again, they focused more on what she was going to do and really push those policies forward.
I think there's got to be a brain in there somewhere. I can't imagine Willie Brown associating with her if she was a total dunderhead.
Well, I mean, she has her own accolades as well. I think she actually, she was able to step up and hold positions that I don't think anybody can just walk into. So I wouldn't dismiss her immediately. You might not like her policies or her personality, but you'd have to admit that she put work in enough to get herself to be the Attorney General of California.
I got to put in this, the word salad that she puts out hurts her.
I would agree. But again, I think it's also because if she went more direct into policy, because you could argue that on both sides. If they go into their tangents, sometimes you lose that messaging and it gets diluted with just a lot of fluff. If you're a little bit more direct and you're not afraid of alienating people, you can't please everybody. So when you're going to have directives, you have to stick with those directives. And I think that word salad was people couldn't put their finger on the pulse of exactly what she was going to do entirely. But I think she was set up for failure. I think she should have definitely came out, and she didn't have the full time. I know there wasn't a primary, but in a very short amount of time, they went from having President Joe Biden run again to now her being the viable candidate. So, I think there was a lot of factors in that.
Yeah, Eileen, you got any thoughts on this?
No, I'm a clean slate, a blank slate.
Okay.
I think that Trump won because the Democrats couldn't cheat.
Well, we did see a very interesting shift across the country. Even in Massachusetts, a lot of unions either did not endorse or they endorsed President Trump. So I think at the end of the day, it's interesting. When I went to a town hall meeting a little ways back at UMass, Senator Warren had spoke, and they did a small little get-together prior to the town hall. And I had an opportunity to ask a couple of questions, and that was one of the things I had emphasized is getting back to the grassroots, that kitchen tabletop discussions that our families are having. And I think if we, as Democrats, go back to that conversation, I think we need to incorporate how it's affecting working class, lower working class, lower income, and start to implement those ideas and not worry about having the endorsements of multimillionaire billionaires and really try to focus on what's going to help people. That's more money in their pockets, less regulation, and a little bit more sincerity when it comes to understanding the issues we're all dealing with and how they can help.
Yeah,
I'm going to read a bunch of these texts. Vice President Harris was never going to get a Republican to vote for her. She didn't do anything for years. VP, that's a laugh, VP. She was in charge of the border and how'd that work out for American people. President Biden-Harris administration will go down as the worst administration in the history of, okay.
I'd like to pause there. I think Andrew Johnson was the worst administration.
It's possible Dr. Jill treated Joe for a stroke back while at the White House. She's an emergency surgeon. I think that Dr. Joe Biden lied about his real health. And the last one, I'm not going to shrink it up yet. It says the very first time she ran for president, she was a failure. Remember her polling numbers. Good point. Back to you, Cliff.
So, you're running for a state rep, 17th Middlesex.
Yes, sir.
Which is my district, the southern third of Lowell and part of Tewksbury, right?
That is correct.
Doesn't include Chelmsford anymore.
No, it does not. Yeah. But what that also sounds like, Cliff, we have to get a sign for your yard.
Oh.
Oh.
My wife does not like signs.
Yes.
I've had a few people that want to support, but they're very strategic in where they put it because they take pride in their landscaping.
Well, it could change. The reason was my wife was running a kiddie choir at the Immaculate, and she did not want to alienate any of the parents. But that operation has changed, so she might be open to a sign.
I appreciate that. If that openness includes my sign, I would have to say.
Yeah. But I have a attitude towards the legislature in Massachusetts, which could apply to Democrats nationally. John doesn't like this characterization, but I say that we're run by the Troika, the governor, the Senate president,
And the House Speaker.
and the House Speaker. Those three run the operation. And it's not so much democracy from the voters up as it is the government from the Troika down.
Now, if I may, just by observing, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into a category, but you seem to be a lot more conservative. Would you ever consider voting for a Democrat? Or would you ever at least consider their position and try to see if you relate to any of their talking points or what their potential is of what they're planning on doing?
I voted for Jimmy Carter.
I would have left that one alone, Cliff. But no, but in all honesty, would you? I mean, that was a ways back. Would you ever consider it in current times, especially local government?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I voted for Democrats for city council. Wait, is Rita Mercer still a Democrat, or did you guys throw her out?
I'm not sure. And again, when it comes to city council, I don't think the letter behind your name, I don't think it really carries much weight for the most part. I think it's really local issues. As far as I'm concerned, you could be Democrat, independent, Republican. I think that when it comes to local issues, it really is your performance, your track record.
Yeah. But do you see this same problem that I see down on Beacon Hill?
What's that problem, Cliff?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Which problem are you referring to?
The fact,
Or the ice cream or the dancing they have on the State House steps, or what's the problem down there, Cliff? Are they laughing in the hallways? You and I were down there the same day. I can't believe, that's already a year ago we were down there.
22nd of May.
We had a wonderful time, and it seems to me they don't do a lot of work down at that building. They have a lot of fun. They have a lot of fun at the State House. They don't do a lot of work.
So anything specifically that you're asking me?
Yeah, my sense that the State House is not oriented on what do the people want, they're more oriented on what does the Troika want. Although I will say that the Senate did vote
To release the information for the auditor?
yeah, sort of not all information, but certain financial information. The Boston Globe said the vote did not come without caveats, nor did it appear to end the years-long saga. But they have offered up the financial data to Zoglio, as we the voters voted for.
I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good start. And I think to answer your question too, do I agree with everything that's going on down there? I have to be down there to see it, but just from where I'm observing locally, I think more work can be done. I think that there can be had, I mean, I just posted this the other day. I think we have to be willing to have those hard conversations. And as much as we have our convictions and whatever the will of the people that you represent have, there should be room for compromise there. And I think that there's a lot of lockstep thinking. And I think you're right. I think that we've sent some people up there with directives, and then their voting has run counter to what the people that sent them up there wanted. So do I think there's room for improvement on that? Absolutely, I think so. But I also know it's not an easy job to be up there. You want to represent who sent you up there, but you also want to make sure you don't alienate because you want to earmark money back for your community. So I think it's a very fine line to stand on what you want and believe, but it's also enough to make sure that you can have some compromise to.
Yeah.
Question for, didn't Massachusetts Republicans lose 2 more seats in the House in 2024? I have no idea. It's a popularity contest? I don't know. I vote for the best American.
I like your thought.
I don't care what party you are.
So,
Cliff, I just want to slide back to what Eileen was talking about. That girl that killed her boyfriend and the guy in the back seat. This is the picture of the car that she sent. And at the console, here's the console of the vehicle they were driving. They were driving a 2018 Toyota Camry.
is that going out? Because it's not showing up here.
It's not going out. A little sticky today. Okay. This is the dashboard of the car they were driving. It would be impossible. It would be very possible for she hinted that the boyfriend took control of the car. I can see him taking control of the steering wheel. But it would be very difficult for him to get a hold of the gas pedal.
But
Or
didn't he put it in idle?
Or the brake.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody one of the passengers tried to put it in neutral to stop her, and she put it back into the
Eileen, you're breaking up. We can't hear you. Say it again.
One of the passengers put the car in neutral, and then she pushed it back up.
That's what it appears like. The gears switched.
So you got the outside picture of the mangled wreck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think it was delibecy. I think she was surprised she woke up. I think she was very surprised she survived.
I don't know how she survived. Looking at that,
I think it was suicide on her part too.
Right, but it even it explains that she veered like enough to get that whole entire side to make sure that she got her boyfriend's side the most intact, and that's the other scary thing. But I mean, Anthony, you respond to scenes that would take a lot of work and precision to do that to a car, wouldn't it?
that looks like quite a bit of momentum behind it. I would have to agree. And even if she was strategically trying to put it on one side, I don't see the other side of the vehicle. But it doesn't look in that much better shape where, again, I do not know how she did not succumb to injuries. I truly don't. Okay, now we're looking at the other side for the most part, if that's the same vehicle, and it looks like it is.
She went under the dashboard. So, with a seatbelt, how do you end up under the dashboard?
Yeah, apparently she was the only one with a seatbelt.
Well, after we get rid of this silly ad, we might see something.
Wow.
Well, that frame right there, it explains why the car was damaged on one side.
Yes.
You can see where the building itself crushed one side better than the other. I'll stop it this time. And you can see the building on this side here jutted out. So she hit right here, and the reason the passenger side was more damaged because the building jutted out on the passenger side, and it was flat where she was. So, did she steered? I think it was past midnight that the accident happened, and I don't think you can really see a brick wall. It looks like a painted wall. Well, this is a half an hour long. We're not going to watch a half an hour.
And I'm no professional, but I don't imagine she has the driving experience or the know-how to realize that she would have walked away from that. So I think maybe, Cliff, you might be correct with your assumption. Maybe they intended on having it, all three of them. Maybe that was her intent. I don't want to speak for her. but I don't know how she would have ever known with that speed and that kind of a immovable object that she would ever think she was going to walk away from that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine she thought that was going to be the case.
This is at the scene. The car was cut in half at the scene. And what we're seeing later on, the crash is the reassembled car in the junkyard. But the car was split in half.
2 lives lost and 2 families forever affected.
Over mental illness.
Untreated mental illness and no discipline or direction by the parents.
No, Eileen, what makes you say no direction by the parents? Is there something that I'm missing? Because I did follow the story when it first happened, but obviously I've lost touch. Has there been any new evidence?
You have to watch The Crash on Netflix if you get a chance. So the parents just didn't discipline her. Like, they said, okay, Mackenzie, whatever you want to do. She was 17. She had just graduated high school, and she had moved in with her boyfriend. There was just, she'd get in trouble in school, and the parents would say, I know she didn't do it. I know it's not her fault, blah, blah, blah. There was never any repercussions for her actions. She was smoking weed every day. She was posting on TikTok, all of this, her smoking weed, her even driving erratically. She thought she was cute. She thought she was funny.
Why does everybody want to be a comedian? It's just interesting how people, they think that if they're funny, they're successful. If you're funny, why don't you have your own TV show? Why don't you take Johnny Carson's seat? That's what a comedian does.
Well, for the record, there will never be another Johnny Carson. But I see where you're going. And I don't think, and again, I'm not correcting you, but I don't think it's just being a comedian. I think that they all want to be performers. When you watch, I mean, I don't have TikTok. As a matter of fact, I didn't have any social media until I ran this campaign, which might have been a good thing, because now that I'm privy to some of these comments, it's quite interesting how it's very hard to not want to say something all the time. But when you see these younger generations constantly performing in front of the camera, I think we've created a lot of safeguards, and rightfully so, but I don't think they realize why these safeguards exist, and they push the boundaries in a lot of these challenges that they engage in, and a lot of this, I guess, formative behavior. I don't think the accountability is there, and I don't think the consequences are being felt. And I think one of the trends that was really big, and I think it's starting to finally slow down, and thank God, is the pranksters, which they would go up and do the most horrible things to bystanders, and then wonder why these bystanders would react the way they were, and they were getting away with it like they had a free pass. And again, I think that the generations that are just living in front of the camera, they all want to be superstars, John. You're not seeing them wanting to
They're looking to get their TikTok numbers up.
I think so. I think they're more engaged with clicks than they are with doing something of substance. That I don't think, and that's the other thing too. I'm not gonna go on a tangent about the young adults, because I honestly think that they don't understand how finite life is and how quick it goes by. And you wake up one day and you're like, how did I get to this age? I think if they had a better understanding of that, they would, I think, formulate a better plan. And I think we all fall victim of that regardless of generation. But I think this generation of the internet is facing something that is still new. We didn't have to face it until later on in life. And I think not going outside and getting your feet in the grass, your hands in the dirt, breathing the air in your lungs, I think that does something to you mentally. And I think that, yes, you could argue a lot of us maybe weren't diagnosed younger, but I think a lot of that seclusion of just living your life on the screen and staying indoors, I think that plays a big part of us too. I think that not getting outside and engaging.
A lot of that was on the documentary about one of her good friends. They got along because this girl had 200,000 followers, and Mackenzie had a bunch of other followers, and they both thought each other was cute, blah, blah, blah. And it's just so twisted. So that is definitely a component of the whole situation. Also, the father on the documentary worked for presentation of Mary Academy, I believe, I think I'm saying it wrong, in Ohio. And what he said on the documentary was like, I don't care if my daughter smokes weed. I don't care if you smoke weed. I don't care if I smoke weed. Like, so his comments ended up getting him fired from his job. And then he just keeps digging himself deeper and deeper doing interviews. So there's been so much fall through since the whole documentary has been released.
So bottom line, so we can turn the page on this, Eileen, do you think she's guilty or not guilty?
I think she tried to kill all three of them.
So she's guilty. So Cliff, what do you think?
Yeah.
She's guilty? Not putting words in your mouth. Is she guilty or not guilty?
Murder-suicide.
Guilty. And the judge called her out on that.
Eileen, your turn's done, kiddo. Your turn's done. Anthony, what do you think?
I'd like to say from what evidence has been presented, it looks like guilt. But again, I don't know the mindset. I don't know what went on in that car, and I don't think any of us will know what went on in that car. I'm not trying to excuse behaviors, but we don't know what happened in that car. Did he make the attempt to push the gas? Was it something? I get what Eileen is saying. Her behavior prior to might be a really good precursor to us to all to say, hey, listen, she's guilty. I don't know enough about what went on in that car. I don't think anybody does.
Her Prada slipper was embedded down into the gas pedal. It never came off the gas pedal. So it was like embedded into it when they were able to see her portion of the car, just proving that no matter what, that was her intent to go into that building.
Okay, Eileen, we're going to stop talking about this today. If you want to go back to it on Monday, we will. But we're going to conclude our broadcast talking about this terrible incident. And we're going to move on to these texts. Also, the amount of bad language that the youth is using is incredible. And I'll bet if they had an old 1972 Cadillac, it would have showed pictures of the buildings destroyed, car without a scratch. Interesting. Back to you guys.
Well, the subject close to my heart, Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts reintroduced a bill aimed at investing $205 billion in developing high-speed rail transportation across the country, dropping $41 billion a year for 5 years. Moulton said in a statement it would help the U.S. match the robust rail systems of Europe and Asia. And, I don't care at all about matching the rail systems of Europe and Asia. I'm interested in a good rail system in the United States.
Will they ride the train? When was the last time you rode the train, Cliff?
The last time I rode the train, well, I'd say about 10 years ago.
Okay, when was the last time you rode the train,
Excuse
Anthony?
me, but
You answered
I
my
was
question.
riding the train weekly for several months.
For a 20-mile trip.
No, to Philadelphia.
How long did it take to get there?
I think it was 4 hours.
Okay. Anthony, what do you think about...
Locally, I took the train with my family visiting from North Carolina last year, and my girlfriend and I, and we went into Boston. So we do frequent it when we go to the games. Anytime we go into Boston, we do use the train.
And it takes a half an hour.
A little bit more than that, but what it also does is alleviate the need for parking, which is very, very pricey. It also, you can kind of just have conversation, be engaged without having to worry about traffic.
Would you take the train to New York?
I would. If it was efficient, absolutely, and cost effective, of course I would. To not have to drive that way. And then again, speaking of New York, parking, and just the cost you're already going to have just going into the city, forget about all the incidentals you have to worry about. So yes, I would definitely consider that.
Watching the politicians rape and pillage the FIFA people who are going on the train, $80 a ticket.
Yep.
I don't see a good future for rail in the United States of America.
Well, especially if we look at the model in California. If that's the model we're going to follow, then I would have to say this is not a good idea. Because if we look 10, 15, 20 years down the line, how much money has been spent and how much track has been laid. When you look in our past, the railroad system was the lifeline. And when you look at what they did there was just so innovative and monumental. In our today's times and the amount of money that California threw at that rail system, and it's not up yet, I'd have to make sure that we don't look at the same issue.
I wouldn't even give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely give it a shot.
I would have to.
Cliff,
I was working
Nope.
in Valley Forge.
rather build new airports.
And the first time I went down there, I flew. You know, showed up early, go through security.
What year was this? Was it a prop or was it a jet?
What's a jet?
Okay,
It
what
was
year?
like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And then I tried the rail and drive down to, what is it, 95 station? 128 station. Park the car, no sweat, right by the door. Go in, pick up my ticket, walk out, stand on the platform, talking to my wife on the phone. Train pulls up, I get on the train, still talking to my wife on the phone, and sit down, and we depart. And I'm still talking to my wife on the phone. It was so easy, so convenient.
And so if somebody has a machine gun and they want to walk down the aisle and kill everybody, is that okay? Zero security on the train station. Zero.
And how many people have been killed recently?
It's up and coming, Cliff. When it happens, what are you going to do about it? It's a vulnerability that we have.
I am going to write to my state rep.
There should be magnetometers at the train station. And they are not. And we are just...
You know what they say about should?
What do they say about should, Cliff?
Cliff, we shouldn't have them then? Silly idea. Magnetometers at the train station? That's stupid. Okay, back to Cliff.
So anyway, but to me, it's the definitions are important. They have a distinction between higher speed rail, which is 110 to 186 miles an hour, and real high speed rail, which is over 186 miles an hour. So we have
Where can we go this fast in America today, Cliff?
nowhere.
Okay. Ain't gonna happen. I ain't voting for it. I don't want to pay for it either. Let's fix the airports. And find a quicker way to get through security.
Well, anyway, I'm all for this. I think it's a good thing. So since we've got 3 minutes to go, you have to say, please vote for me.
No, are you staying till 8?
I believe I am, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
we
'cause-
changed, some people are going away.
I understand.
You're going to take a break.
After I read this text to you. Why can't I take a train from South Shore to the North Shore? Why do I have to go to Boston and then get on another train? There you go, Cliff. Happy train ride.
I don't know. Quick introduction of yourself, then your thought on trains.
Okay. Anthony Leite. I am currently running for the state rep position for the 17th Middlesex District. And my thought on trains, as I had said earlier, I think that any transportation needs to be well thought out, and we should be implementing it. But I also agree with John. I think the efficiency of the planes and the airports have to be updated as well. Even air traffic controllers. I think that we have to look at all transportation. And keep in mind safety. I am a proponent of what John's saying as far as security. I don't think we should have trains just willy-nilly get on. I think we do have to have a certain level of security to enable that rider to have the same safety they would have with expectations of getting on a plane. There's other thoughts too, is making sure how well are we going to make sure those tracks ahead are going to be clear at that kind of rate of speed. we've seen things in the past where there's been derailment because there was an animal on there or ice or whatever it may be. But I think that if we don't develop and at least look into furthering our transportation lines, we have to. The world has gotten smaller with travel and with the internet, and I think that we have to find a vehicle that gets us to where we need to go quick, efficiently, and safely. So yes, I am a proponent of the train.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a break.
We'll be back, thanks.
And we didn't even...
I've been enrolled since 1951. And the first thing most politicians will ask you is, who told you? They don't care that it's factually true.
Good morning. Welcome to City Life Show. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. I have Eileen Delrossi here phoning in from Christian Hill. Hello, Eileen.
Hello, Cliff. How are you?
Good.
Hello, Anthony. Hello, John.
Hello.
And we have Anthony Leite, who is running for state rep in the 17th Middlesex District, which is my district. Which I think of as the bottom third of Lowell and Tewksbury. Back a long time ago, it also included part of Chelmsford, but that was after the General Court broke up Chelmsford into 4 little pieces in order to get the Republican state rep out, and it worked. She resigned, and the person who ran in her place did not do well. So how is your campaign going so far?
Busy, but blessed. We've had quite a bit of support. I've had to push the pause button, not entirely, but to focus on issues that I prioritized, that I felt needed the attention and obviously the work that was put into it. But yeah, we continue down that track, and we're just trying to do the right thing and trying to get to a place where we can do even better.
Do you have a web page?
I do. Vote Leite, Leite.com. And we also have our Facebook page as well, and an Instagram.
Okie doke.
Thank you.
So, do you think you can have an impact on Beacon Hill, or does the Troika, Governor, Senate President, and House Speaker dominate affairs on Beacon Hill? Frustrating democracy, as I would say.
I think anything could be done. I truly do. If you have a sound idea or a policy, and you do your due diligence to put the work behind getting sure all your statistics, the numbers needed, and having that conversation well orchestrated, I think now it comes down to the individual's tenacity. Are you willing to continuously have that conversation? And we've seen it with our auditor. There should be certain things you don't let go of, and there's also a certain level of compromise you have to be willing to take. But yes, I think that if you go at any level, I think there's room for improvement. It just, you have to be relentless, and I think that you have to have good messaging. And more importantly, you have to have the support of the people behind you that put you there. If this is their agenda and this is what their will is, then yes, I think it's your job to advocate it no matter how steep that hill is. So yes, there is room to make improvements up there.
Now, speaking of steep hills, from reading the Lowell Sun, I got the impression a couple of weeks ago that City Manager Tom Golden was in a high dungeon over the fire department, and you're the union chief, right?
The union president, that's correct.
Union president. But he was on about sick leave and overtime issues and how it's costing money. So they had a budget hearing Tuesday, and apparently they reversed some of that position. He was going to cut, what, 6 slots?
So they were at that point.
Yeah.
We already had 6 individuals that were notified of layoff and had received that notification in person. And as far as reversed, I think when we had a chance to have conversation, and I said this at the meeting, and I'm going to say it here, my hat goes off to the city manager and his team, and his willingness to further dissect that conversation to see exactly what was it comprised of. It wasn't just an easy categorization of saying this is the root cause. When you start to peel back the layers and you realize that, again, I'm going to be as redundant as I possibly can, staffing. And I think his willingness to understand what that equates to when you don't have the correct staffing, that it's going to be an increased budget. But again, I also had mentioned at that meeting as well, I understand his plight. He has to do the best that he feels when it comes to the budgeting for the entire city, not just one department. So for me, it was advocating and having a phenomenal e-board, a very effective e-board, that we worked together and we were able to produce and put forth information. But that's just our department. He has to incorporate every facet of every department into his budget. So in all fairness, I think that he had a very tough situation to face, and I think that that willingness to have a conversation with me really did equate to a very favorable outcome, especially for the community.
Since money is so tight, would the union be open to the use of volunteer firefighters for overnight shift and maybe the weekends to free up money?
I wouldn't even say free up money, because what we have career firefighters that are civil service, and we take pride in that. And so for us, we stay organic to that idea. We have the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts that we're all affiliated with the International Association of Firefighters, and what we have is collective bargaining. What we have is language. What we have is a long history of union involvement, and to change or veer away from that, thinking it's going to be more cost effective, I think it ignores all the work that's been laid down prior to. And the other thing that we have to focus on, and I say this quite often, it's not just the language that we are preserving, it's what we've had to negotiate away in the past to obtain that language. So we have to really look and focus on why are we career firefighters, and what does that look like, and what does that encompass, and to try to integrate outside call vol or voluntary call firefighters. I'm not a opposed to that, but it's just not our history, and we take pride in where we come from, and we preserve that with every breath that we have. So I don't think that would work for Lowell. I think you need a little bit more concrete with scheduling to have that on call. If they're not available, then that's what our amazing mutual aid's for. And I think a great testament of that was when we had the 6 structures that were affected in Centerville. Not only did Lowell Fire go above and beyond, as they always do, the mutual aid response was just phenomenal. So I think in our particular case, we wouldn't have to rely on any volunteers. I don't think it's necessary, and I think the model we have is just fine, but again, it relies on proper staffing to better utilize that model. That was how it was intended when it was built that way.
Okay.
I had an experience with volunteer firefighters in New York, upstate New York. One 4th of July, we had to call for an incident my son had, and they were very nice, and they got there, but they didn't have what was needed. They didn't have the skills or expertise, because my son had an airway issue at that point, and they ended up still having to call the regular fire department because they have those skills and a real ambulance. I don't even know what they came with, but it was quite interesting. I'd never seen anything like that before. But I feel like that volunteer firefighters could almost even cause more liability on the city too, in different ways.
And I do appreciate and respect your perspective. I won't.
You gotta lean into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. I won't dare say that that's anecdotal, because that's your experience. But what I would say is that when I was stationed up.
Also, aim this like it's a gun at your mouth. That's
of
good.
course.
Thanks.
Sorry about that, John.
No, it's just a matter. Every microphone's different, but you got to be a little closer. Thanks.
Absolutely, you're welcome. So when I was stationed up in New Hampshire, we had quite a few volunteer firefighters, and let me tell you, to paint them in a broad stroke, that might be a few cases. I'm sure you can find that across any industry, but the overwhelming majority of on-call volunteer, they are phenomenal. But again, you're right. I think the consistency is needed. I think that's, again, one of the things we pride ourselves on, is the consistency, the training, and with how hard my brothers and sisters work. So I don't want to just categorize them all as a liability. I think in your particular case, you are 100% entitled to feel that way, and that very well might be the case. I think for us, that's not the argument. I think the argument is that we've worked very long and hard to within our history to keep everything organic to what our contract lays out, and that is a civil service worker that is academy trained and hired by at the behest of the city, and we adhere to protocols such as city policy and our standard operating procedures and guidelines, and just the overall city policy and department policy. So again, not to dismiss you, Eileen, I think that it does come down to each individual too. How much is that volunteer putting into it? How often does he respond? I think those are factors, right? And I think you are correct in saying that. But I know quite a few that go above and beyond as well.
Well, Anthony, I think what you guys fall down on your duty is to let the public know when you're going to practice. Like I saw firefighters yesterday practicing with their truck off of Dutton Street. Mm-hmm. I think the public should be notified, hey, if you want to go over and watch us train, like to have an audience. And the thing, I don't think people realize the amount of training that the firefighters do themselves, because it's done behind the scenes. When I was a kid, they'd come over to the South Common and they'd practice over there. The kids would just sit there in awe, watching them climb up the ladder and how good they were with the hose and how quick they were to put the truck together, get the water coming out of the truck. It was amazing to see the teamwork that they have. And I think that you guys should at least consider inviting go to a public like the North Common, South Common. Practice over there where the audience can look, or the locals can see you doing your stuff.
I think it's a fair suggestion. What I will say, though, is that when it comes down to the 13 companies that train, it really is a matter of availability. If they have calls, obviously not every company can train at once. So when they have that time in their schedule, they'll already have a plan formulated, maybe the shift prior or the morning of, and they just enact that plan when they have the time to. So to have that notification, there could be a great disconnect just time-wise. But one of the things we did do was we did cross-training with the LRTA, and that was publicized, and we try to do as much as we can can, we also put it on our Facebook just to show the public what it is the training looks like. But that is a fair suggestion. And if and again, our training captains, we've had a few change over, and they've done a great job with formulating their training as well. So we could definitely try to see what we can do to put that out to the public. But again, it comes down to availability, when they're actually going to have that time frame dedicated to the training. But it is a fair suggestion, and there's one that
Or make a video, put it on YouTube.
That's a great idea.
See how many views you get. Because
Okay.
you guys work really hard at it. And the volunteer guys, they're up in Cow Hampshire. They're nice guys. I remember, but their attitude is different. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example where I was at a wedding up there, and it was in the sticks of New Hampshire, and the grandmother had a heart attack. So they called the fire department. Took 15 minutes to get there. They get there, and so I'm like waving at them, this is where you're going to come in. They wouldn't move the truck up close to the building. And so the guy comes to the door, he says, "That's the trouble with you people from out of town. You think that we can be here in a heartbeat." And he's having a conversation with me rather than going to help the poor old lady who was having the heart attack. Just very poor attitude on this volunteer's part.
Okay. And again, I can't speak on that. I haven't had interactions. But again, just to even Eileen's point and your point, I'm sure there has been interactions that you could definitely have an opinion on. I have not had those interactions, but I also don't engage
But
with them.
in Lowell, same incident, the firefighters, get out of the way. Where is she?
Yes.
That's what happens in Lowell. That's what happens at Hampton Beach, too. Get out of the way. Where is this lady?
Well, when we talk,
My experience with volunteer fire is I lived in Prince Bill County in Virginia, which is basically rural. The fire response is provided by the volunteers. They own the buildings, they own the equipment. They hire professional firefighters for 5 days a week during the day, and the volunteers, they do a 5-minute response countywide. And my youngest son started out as an EMT with them and ended up as a sergeant in the fire department itself. And they seem to do a pretty good job. So I think it's horses for courses. Your point about having achieved the right relationship is an important one. You don't want to mess that kind of thing up.
and I think it's a fair point. When we talk about the volunteer, you're right. In some circumstances with departments, they might have their career firefighters, administration, so on and so forth. They might be stopping at 5 p.m. and the rest now turns to volunteer. So now you have to have the incident happen, the notification being sent out, them responding to that notification, and then showing up on scene from wherever they are. So there is that time. But to also John's point, when we talk about breathing, fire, bleeding, seconds matter. And then, like I said, my fellow brothers and sisters take that very seriously, and response time is something that we don't take lightly. So with volunteering, they respond when they get that call, and we don't know where they are, we don't know where they're going, and in most cases, they do the best they
in
can.
Prince Bill County, Prince William County formerly, they're in the fire station. The volunteers spend the night in the fire station.
Okay. My particular friend, I know he would be home and get that notification. He would go to wherever that location was.
In the sticks of New Hampshire, they take 15 minutes. Can you imagine you have a house fire and the fire department's going to show up in 15 minutes?
Well, this is Sticks of Virginia, and they make it in 5.
New
So I
Hampshire-
have a question. So, you call your fire colleagues brother and sister. Do you call the volunteer firefighters your half brothers and sisters or cousins?
No, we don't. Anybody in the industry, just like in the military, I served in the Marine Corps, but my fellow brothers and sisters across all military branches, it's a term of endearment, and it's a common bond that we have to know what we all did. We all had different reasons, but we all ended up in the same place. And what I mean is as far as service. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all my fellow brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Change of topics. Flags are supposed to be at half-staff. Of course, coming here, I found a U.S. flag on city property that was not at half-staff. But they're supposed to be at half-staff for Boston firefighter Robert Kilduff Jr., who you knew, Anthony. And he's going to be buried on Monday, the 1st of June. And the flag is also at half-staff for U.S. Congressman Barney Frank from Massachusetts down the Boston area. He'll be laid to rest on 8 June. So flags should go to full staff at sunset on the 8th of June and be at full staff on Tuesday.
And thank you for mentioning that about BK. Again, I said it in the earlier part of the show. Just a phenomenal individual, phenomenal firefighter, and again, phenomenal union worker. His involvement is just spans over years and years of dedication and to the cause, and he is going to be well missed.
Did you get any background on how did he fall off the roof?
I only know, I have not asked my fellow...
Okay, if you don't know, you can't.
I just know what was in the paper. I haven't asked my fellow brothers and sisters in Boston yet, and and again, this time I think that...
Because my childhood friend, his name is Stanley Trzynski, he was in a gigantic fire, and he had to jump out of a third-floor window. And that was his only way to survive.
Well, when we also
Broke both his legs.
Well, look at what happened with Nick Spinelli out of Chelmsford Fire when he was
He
at
was
the
put out
academy.
on disability,
You know?
and he wouldn't take that. He went back to work.
Yeah.
Stanley Trzynski, Cadillac of a guy.
Are you talking about Stanley, the manager of the Firefighters Club?
Yeah.
What a phenomenal man, too. Great man. Good
That
man.
guy, he went out, they wanted him to disable. He said, nope, going back to work.
And to this day, you can't say a word about him without saying how good of a man he is. We see, a matter of fact, I just saw him on Wednesday at our union meeting. He hosts us there for our meetings, and I'll tell you, him and his wife Gail, great
Yep.
people.
Nice
Just really
people.
good people. Yes, I would have to agree.
So look, I got to do these. I don't have to do anything, but I'm going to do these announcements on Saturday, May 30th, tomorrow. They're having a procession on the Holy Ghost Society. It's going to have a procession. It's at 5 o'clock on Douglas Road, all the way down to Holy Ghost Park, and then they're going to eat, drink, and be merry. So if you want to have a good time, think about heading down to Douglas Road at 5 o'clock and march with them, and you'll have a good time. Today is the 29th, which means at the senior center they have tuna sandwiches for lunchtime. So if you got $2, head over there around 10:30 and plunk down your $2. If you don't have the $2, it's free. The only rule is you got to be 60 years or older. We don't care if you live in Timbuktu. So come on down for a tuna sandwich for $2.
John, I have a question for you about that.
Yeah.
With the tuna sandwich, do you take cheese on that?
I don't know. I just take what they put out there.
I ask because a lot of people like the tuna melts. I've never put cheese on my any fish. So to me, I find it to be a little grotesque, but I know people do love that.
Yeah, to each his own, like a pizza.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put tuna on my pizza, so.
Well, I like...
But anchovies is good, so I guess I just contradicted myself.
But on pizza, what's your favorite pizza?
I'd have to say thin and just plain cheese. And I'm not a pizza eater, but that would be, I like it simple, but I like the thin. I don't like the deep dish is just you're eating a
How about you, Cliff?
thick piece of bread.
Pizza?
Mushroom, pepperoni, and sausage.
Eileen?
I could see that in you. I like just cheese, but I also like the meatball ricotta combination. But I wanted to mention, we just were talking about.
I got to finish these announcements. So, sorry I got off on a tangent there. John Drinkwater is having a party Monday, June 1st at the Old Court. Hope to see you down there.
Well, wait, where is he running?
Where is he running?
17th Middlesex District.
Oh, okay.
Then we have the grand opening of the Roberto Clemente Park is next Saturday, not tomorrow, but next Saturday. That's the North Common, so hope to see you over there. The Greek Festival's coming up in mid-June. St. William's is having a parish picnic on June 14th. Fundraiser for the Children's Fund of Greater Lowell. They have a golf thing, so take your fancy phone out of your pocket, take a picture of this slide. A lot of good information on this, so take a picture of this, and it's June 15th. Brady McCarron's having a party. He's running for regional school department, regional school committee, and he's having a party June 18th down at the Waupun Left. This is pretty cool. Be there or be square. This is a nice barbecue over the East End Club. A real yummy time. It's coming up the end of June, so we'll be talking about this all in June. But that looks like a lot of fun. Back over you, Cliff.
Okay. So, the headline from the Lowell Sun, Haute Couture School Committee Debate Dress Code for Teachers. I'm sympathetic to what Dominic Lay was saying. How did that go, and how did you end up not having a dress code for teachers?
You never needed one in the past.
So it got voted down, and a teacher had showed up and kind of spoke about the conditions of the building. And honestly, I respect Dominic. I talked to him earlier that day. I said, I get it. I get where you're coming from. But until we can really make sure that our buildings, HVACs, are okay, like we're going to put this, we just had a ton of cuts. Now it's just the icing on top of the cake. And he was just looking for a report or the superintendent to look into it, which is fine. And we honestly probably would not be getting a report or anything until next year. But that just put the teachers all up in arms, and I just feel like that's the last thing teachers need right now. It's tough enough to be a teacher, and putting them, I mean, teachers love their jobs. They're in the building that they are just trying to survive and to teach. And now we're going to say, don't be comfortable, because we need to show a good image for students who don't respect teachers. And we have to take that all day long too. So I guess that's a whole other part. But I told Dominic, I said, until we get the HVAC, if we had these great buildings that there were no temperature control issues in, and you want to look into the dress code, okay, I get it.
Eileen, hold it right there. Eileen, hold it right there. Can I wear my pajamas as a teacher? Is there any rule?
If it's pajama day.
Can I wear my pajamas on every day? If there's no dress code, I can wear my pajamas to school. And I think teachers are icons for the children's future. If you go to school wearing dirty, wrinkled clothes, and you're the teacher, that's perfectly okay. I think that's dead wrong. And I have had teachers tell me they work with people who smell. And I think that it's high time the school department realized that you guys run the place. You can't stink and go and be a teacher. You can't be wearing dirty clothes and be a teacher. We don't want you wearing your pajamas to work. And I think that that's what the public is trying to help you understand. And say, oh, it's too hot in the building. That's a silly excuse. Fix the goddamn air conditioning and dress like a professional.
John, do you mind if I jump in?
Go right ahead.
So I can see both sides of that argument. I could definitely see where Eileen's coming from, and I can agree. But I do remember growing up having every teacher that I've ever had wear a suit, or the women would wear something comparable to that. And what I feel is that when you have that level of professionalism that you're walking into, I think it sets the formal tone of the room. Just like if you look at society across the board, when we would go out, us 6 kids and my parents, to even get something to the ground round, we didn't dress to the nines, but we looked presentable. And you see that in church, you see that now in schools, you see a drop of that formality or that professionalism. Now, do I think that the accommodation should be there before we worry about what people are wearing? Absolutely, Eileen. I think that you should have something that's indicative to, if you have expectations, teachers should have expectations as well. But I do feel just across the board, I mean, even when we went to the movies, we would dress proper. I think that we don't have to go back to the 1920s and 30s where you left the house with a hat and suit on. But I do think that when I was in school, that level of professionalism when you walked in the room, I think there was a certain aspect that it commands out of you, that there was a formal atmosphere and you act a certain way. You weren't disruptive as much as possible because it was considered a professional atmosphere and there was behaviors you had to adhere to or you'd be sent to the principal's office. And I think the first step of having that respect and expecting it to be present in that room, I think comes from the level of professionalism, because I think the teacher is a role model. I think the teacher is a future projection of what that child should try to emulate and rise to later on in their life. And I think that that is a symbol of, hey, I'm coming into school, my teacher's there, they're professional, they're acting and talking the part. I think teachers and parents in general today, I think they're trying to be more of the friends of the students, just from what people have told me, again, not my observations. I think they're trying to be more on the friends part of it and relate rather than being that idol or that figure that they should try to emulate. So I can see both sides of it, because I've had both arguments brought to my attention as far as, hey, does it matter what they wear if they're teaching and doing a good job? And other people arguing, hey, maybe the start of that classroom lesson should be with respect for thyself and how you present yourself when you're out in public. So I could definitely see both parts of that argument.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, and that's how I looked at my teachers growing up, to tell you the truth. But there was a level of respect. Today, there is no level of respect. There are no consequences for students disrespecting and, yelling up and down the halls. I mean, I guess the whole paradigm has changed. Even the way teachers dress. The mayor was saying every time he goes into a school, the teachers are dressed just like the teachers are dressed at the Vogue. He didn't see a problem with it. A lot of teachers wear T-shirts because of field trips or to show their pride for their school.
It's not okay, Eileen. It's not okay to wear a T-shirt to
generation.
school. It's not.
You're
it's,
talking over her, John.
I don't care. It's not okay.
I care.
She's saying like it's
because
okay.
You make that a rule. Eileen, you were the deciding vote. And I sense that the other three people on the show think you voted wrong.
Oh,
Well,
no, I don't think she voted
fine,
wrong.
but
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think she voted wrong. I'm saying I see both. Excuse me, Eileen, I'm sorry, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
I see both points of the argument, because with the position I did hold at the time, I am in a lot of the schools, and I do see the temperatures freezing in the wintertime, really hot in the summertime, and sometimes there's been instances where they can't open up the window, or there's been a huge beehive out that window where they can't open it. I do think that, again, having the environment addressed should be prioritized over what they're looking like. But I do see, for example, when John asked me to be on the show, he has a dress code that I adhere to. When you are in a position of leadership within the PFFM and you go to a state meeting, you're in a suit and tie. I think there has to be a level of professionalism, but I can also see the same argument. So no, I don't think she made the wrong choice. I think what she did was advocate properly for the teachers to have a level of comfort in a building that maybe there should be better accommodations. I don't know in every circumstance, but I think it's worth listening to both arguments.
I got a bunch of texts I'm going to read. Tony and Ann's chicken palm pizza is out of this world. They should serve it on the space station. That's from Bart. Great show today. Listening to Mr. Leite speak on his demeanor is refreshing. Most people running for office are not genuine and come off as greasy. He's none of that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Volunteer firefighters could be helpful in small rural towns, but not big cities. And part of this you can't read. As a former member of something response team in my town, I experienced firsthand the extremely taxing job firefighters have. We practiced in a vacant building in Lowell where they simulated a smoke-filled building. We had to crawl around with very heavy equipment on our backs, trying to save colleagues at the same time. God bless our firefighters. I think that's the last. No, Mr. Leite started the food conversation. Would the panel eat a hot dog with bread if there are no rolls? Of course we would. And back over to you, Cliff.
Okay. 2 votes against you, Eileen, here.
All right, well, I mean, I just, you know what, I go on the side of teachers because I am a teacher. So, and I could see their point. And so I'm sorry I disappointed you guys. I will get 10 lashings the next time I come in.
But Eileen, I will say that in regard to what you represent, I am proud of you, because if that's what the overwhelming response is for the teachers, and you went out there and you put it out there to make sure that was heard, then kudos to you, because that's what being a representative is sometimes it's not so much your stance, it's what the stance of the other people are expecting you to advocate for. So I say congratulations.
Well, thank you, Anthony. And what else was I going to say? So I didn't say anything. Everybody said something about it, but I didn't say anything because I was virtual at that point and I was listening to what everybody said, and I agreed with Danielle McFadden, Connie, and the mayor. Danielle McFadden said we have bigger fish to fry. I agree with that. Like we have kids that aren't reading. We have bigger fish to fry in the buildings, the HVAC, so many different things to look into. And I get it's important the way we look. I get it.
And if I may, and I don't want to dwell on this because I'm sure Cliff wants to move on. How about this? I don't prioritize the color of paint on my walls until the windows are fixed or the roof is fixed. Can both of them be done at the same time? Of course, but if we're talking about how much money I'm willing to spend, again, I'm not prioritizing painting the walls a different color more so than I am with making sure the windows are well taken care of. So I think that if we want to address what they're wearing, let's make sure their environment is comfortable enough to have that dress code and have them adhere to it.
I got some text here. Does Eileen own a pair of jeans with holes in them, which are now the style these nowadays? My court officer buddy told me he can't believe how people dress going to court these days.
Agreed.
You've had Mr. Leite on a few times now, and I really like his opinions. Will he be having any fundraisers before his campaign so I can support him? And how do I get a sign for my yard? Also, he did a phenomenal job fighting for the city these past weeks.
I love these texts. I hope you're in my district because I would really much like to count on your vote, but I do appreciate you reaching out with your kind words. And may I answer the questions?
Go ahead.
So as far as campaign fundraising, right now we are currently putting together as we speak a campaign fundraiser that will be held at Long Meadow. Right now we are looking at, I believe, June 18th, which is a Thursday. We will have more information and you'll be able to find that information out on my Facebook page if you look it up. And also to have a sign on that same Facebook page, if you leave us a message, we will get back to you privately where we're just going to get your address and we'll come by with a sign and we'll put it in your yard for you. I'll knock on your door to find out where you prefer the placement on. And again, I appreciate all the support. Quite a few people reaching out for signs.
Give them your website again.
Of course. So on the website, it is votelate, LEITE.com. And then for the Facebook page, it is...
Anthony Leite, State Representative.
That's correct. Thank you. And that's also for the Instagram as well. Thank you.
Okay. So
thank you very much. And since you have it up, a big thank you. We do testimonial Tuesdays for people that have been reaching out, wanting to write their testimony on their engagement with me throughout the years. And then thank you Thursdays is to thank the people that have come out and endorsed me. And the one we just posted yesterday on Thank You Thursday was Tewksbury Fire Department. They had me go out there and speak with them, and an overwhelming unanimous decision to support me. And coincidentally, that is a part of the district, and I am very proud that my brothers and sisters took the time to hear me speak and followed that up with an endorsement, and they have just been phenomenal. They're phenomenal.
How'd you like the firehouse out there?
Great, beautiful.
Oh my God.
I would like to see something like that going in the future here, but good for Tewksbury. Phenomenal people over there doing the job of really good work out there. And we will be sharing a bus with them on our way to Boston for BK's funeral as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, shifting gears. The Lowell Spinners are back today in Lowell. They had a game yesterday that they lost, but they've been gone for 6 years, but they're back. And I think that's good for Lowell.
They're having lots of fun events too. I believe June 28th is Bring Your Dog to the Field night. I'm excited for that.
And isn't tonight the home opener as well at 6:30?
Home opener.
That's correct. And the Bring Your Dog Day, that is beautiful. We will be, Caitlin and I will be taking our beautiful little dog Jack there. I think that's important. If you're in a position to own a dog, you would know, especially nowadays, dog owners, much different than when I was a child. They've become a really big extension of the family.
So I don't know if Cliff has it on his hit parade or not, but I'd like to zero in on your candidacy for state rep. If looking at a map of the area, where does the 17th district start on the left and go over to the right?
So it encompasses.
Because I tried to find a map of the 17th district, I can't find one on the
Even the
internet.
ones we find don't go street to street. We've had and thank God for Caitlin, my girlfriend. She's done a great job with working with me on this. So it encompasses all of Belvedere, all of South Lowell, part of downtown, and Precinct 1 in Tewksbury. And Precinct 1 is weird. If you're on 133, it's on the side of Cracker Barrel. And if you go around the opposite way, now going on Roger Street, going all the way down, it starts with Wamaset Lanes and so on and so
Okay.
forth. So it does encompass one of 3 precincts that are in Tewksbury.
So you do Wamaset Lanes, but you don't do the JDs?
No, I think it's that entirety, but on
Okay.
the 133 side, it gets one side, but not the other side of the street.
Because I know in Lowell, it's one side of the street you don't get the other side of the street.
Well, even look at the 17 Middlesex Street District when it comes to where one of my opponents, Harini, I believe she lives on Smith Street, but it comes down just enough to hook into the 17th Middlesex District. So you have to do your work and find out where those streets begin and end.
So it might behoove you to educate the commoner who is in your district, who isn't.
Yeah,
Create that map and I'm just throwing it out there.
another great suggestion.
Back to you. Back to Cliff, thanks.
Thank you.
So, under the new civility watch, Dame Helen Mirren, who's 80, was out for a walk in her neighborhood in London, and she was called an evil Zionist bitch by an anti-Israeli. They said, there's Helen Mirren, the avowed Zionist. You said Israel should last forever because of the Holocaust, the Ob shouted, referring to the actress's 2023 remarks. Her husband told the guy to saw it off. And the reply was, "You're an evil Zionist bitch." And I don't think that that's a nice way to treat people on the street. That you may have your opinions, but that kind of, to me, that kind of talk is not very nice, and is not good for.
Text from the audience. Sorry, Anthony, your wife or girlfriend decides the color of the walls.
I would have
Men
to
only
concur
care
with
about the
that.
size of the TV and how comfortable the couch is.
Whoever had said that is I think, at least in my circumstance, I would have to agree.
So I think we need to tone down the rhetoric a little bit and not attack people on the street for their views. Of course, it's England, so they don't have a First Amendment.
So, Anthony, who else is running for your district?
So you have Harini, lovely young lady. She is in the race, and also John Drinkwater of Belvedere as well.
Any debates coming up?
I believe there will be. From right now, I had spoke to Teddy Panos, and I believe we're going to be doing one in August, all 3 of us.
Okay, good.
All right, so we got the spinners. I saw, and I thought John would like this, the Patriots player Marcus Jones is promoting financial literacy.
Fantastic.
And it says New England quarterback Marcus Jones signs his autograph for event attending an exclusive evening with Marcus Jones, tackling financial wellness. And I'll leave this article with you.
Thank you, Cliff. Anthony, just in case you don't, I'm an advocate for the public schools and private schools need to teach personal finance starting with grade 4 through high school. Because if you've got money in the bank, you have a lot less problems. And nowadays, the average credit card balance that people hold is over $10,000.
I agree. And one of the things I can speak firsthand on is when I when I was in the Marine Corps, a lot of young Marines, when we had some time in the field, I would ask those questions. Who has a credit card? What is your APR? What do you know, the amount of money they would spend. And I think we touched on the show last time, and Eileen and I had a good conversation on it. I think that if we're not balancing budget and learning life skills, and then we go out there and we now fall victim to these absurd car loans and these absurd interest rates, I think if we better educate them, then they're going to want to compete for our business instead of having an individual who buys their first car and they're paying 28% on a credit card, or excuse me, when they buy a 18% car loan, and then the credit cards are looking at 28 and 30% or higher. I think this is crazy. I think it's criminal, and I think that they're not even balancing their budgets, and I think they're living far beyond their means, and it's not their fault. I don't think it's being taught properly.
And just to put it out there for the public, it's in Massachusetts, roughly they say between $7,800 and $9,200 is what your credit card balance is in Massachusetts.
And when you couple that with them paying the minimum payments, they're never getting out of that hole.
And your new Tahoe.
That's right.
Okay. So out in L.A., you've got Karen Bass as the mayor, and one of the people running against her is Spencer Pratt, who lost his house in the Palisades fire. Rolling Stone calls Spencer Pratt the quintessential American, but they didn't mean that as a compliment. He's been running a innovative campaign, for instance, power washing the sidewalks and the streets, and using a stencil so that the unwashed or the washed portion advertises his candidacy, and the unwashed portion just shows how bad it is. And he's big on homelessness, and he sees it as a drug and mental illness problem.
What we're doing supporting the homeless is the problem. We have to stop supporting the homeless. Remember when Newt Gingrich called Hillary Clinton the B word? That's directed to you, Cliff, I think.
Newt Gingrich's mother? Huh. I didn't know that. I did not remember that. Should not have done that. But here we are. So we're down to 46 minutes. So I want to give you, Anthony, a chance to talk about your campaign and some of the issues you're running on, and then I can finish up my notes.
So again, Anthony Leite, running for the 17th Middlesex District for State Representative. My platform consists not solely on what my convictions are or what I think improvements can be made upon, but it's also the concerns of the people who I'm engaging with, and not just at the start of this race or during this race. It's been prior to this race, and that's what prompted me to want to get out there. I just posted this the other day. You have to be willing to have the hard conversations, stand firm, but always be willing to compromise and find that common ground. And I think I pretty much hit that verbatim as my page had said. And if you have things that you believe in, I think that's very important. I think that makes up the foundation of who you are. But you can't disregard the very people that you're claiming you want to represent. And I think you need to take a stance no matter how polarizing it is. If they want me to go up there and address the infrastructure, which I plan on doing, we have to make sure that if we're talking about increasing development in the city, what does that look like? How is that going to affect the current people that are living here and paying taxes? So we have to address not just developing affordable homes or a pathway better for our homeowners to experience a better experience, rather than getting into a loan that they're not sure of. And that goes to John's point, is making sure we have educational programs that can not only show them how that path looks and how to get to that affordable home ownership, but how do they sustain that without going into foreclosure? And how can we complement that further by making sure we have additional parking if driveways are not available? What does that look like for property tax? What does this look like for our trash pickup? We have to make sure that we're looking at every aspect, and yes, we can keep our eye on what's going on nationally, but I think locally we really need to start asking our neighbors, what are your concerns? And that is one of the things that when I meet with any locals, any union representation, any of my neighbors, anybody that I'm looking for a vote from, it's not just, hey, here's my platform, this is what I'm about, take this, nice to meet you. It's, what are your concerns? Tell me what is affecting your home. What are you observing that you think needs to be improved upon? And some of the common answers I've been getting, or should I say the majority, is again, what I've already addressed is affordable homes, infrastructure, schooling. Can we improve upon our schoolings? What does our curriculum look like? And again, back to John's point is, what are we doing on personal finance? How are we better equipping our young adults into adulthood and making sure that they can sustain themselves financially? What are we doing to not only advocate for college, but what about our trades? We need to start getting better programming to shuttle more of our students with the wanting to work with their hands and have a better knowledge of something else than just college. I think you could pursue both of those avenues simultaneously, and I think we need really start to advocating for our young adults to gravitate to these fields that are quite vacant. The other thing we have to do, and John said that the homeless situation, I can agree to what it's affecting. But what I can't agree to is that we can't stop, and I don't want to use the word cater, that's not a proper word, but accommodating. I think when we talk about homelessness,
Anthony, what we're doing is not working.
that's the point I said I agree with you on, as far as there is a certain level.
I don't care if the
on.
government spends money on it,
Yep.
wonderful, but what we're doing is not, right now, we have an empty building, 600 jail cells doing nothing out of the Barica House of Correction. You have a sheriff that's just looking the other way. I think September 1st, we should arrest every homeless person and send them out to Barica House of Correction to get the help they really, really need. Clean them up over the wintertime and let them free in the springtime. And I think that's what we should do every stinking year with the homeless. And just because President Trump executive order, you can pick somebody up off the street and force them into housing. It's an executive order, so there's no law against it. And I think that's an easy solution, and we have to force the sheriff to kowtow to this order. That's my solution.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
So when you say bring them to jail and we clean them up, when they come back outside, they're still unhoused. So now you have that cycle that is now going to continue. So now when we look at
No. We have help in the prison. See, the prison just doesn't kick people out the door. I mean, the guy who runs the prison, he does a fantastic job with, okay, you're getting out in 6 months. We're going to get you a job. We're going to get you a place to live. This guy's really good at that.
So, and again, this isn't to ridicule you, I just want to challenge it though. So in order to help them, we want to violate their civil liberties by putting them in a prison.
They're not in their right mind. When you're high drunk, I don't know if you've ever experienced being so high and so drunk, you couldn't think straight, okay? So if you haven't, get a bottle of champagne, drink the whole thing, and you'll go like, I can't think straight. And this is the life they live in.
So
they don't deserve the rights we're giving them.
You asked me a question if I've ever been, or just the broad question, if I've ever been high or drunk enough to know, lose my train of thought or my frame of mind. I think the other question that should be asked is, have you had experience with these people? And I can say I have wholeheartedly for more than a decade. And imprisonment, I can speak on this because it affected a family member. This was an individual that, because of drug addiction, got in trouble with the law and came out of jail. And the week that he came out of jail, he overdosed that night and died. Because when you get somebody clean, that clean that we refer to as, that needs to be continued conversation for years to come until the day they pass this earth. And I pray not prematurely. It's one of those things where it becomes part of your chemical makeup. So now, when that chemical dependency dissipates, it's still in your brain where that itch never goes away. And if we don't complement that with proper programming, and I do agree with you, we're putting a lot of money into it, and that's what is part of my campaign, to go back to Cliff's point. We need to look at that money, where is it being spent, and before we start creating new programming such as safe injection sites, why don't we look at the pre-existing ones and better improve upon them? Watch where that money's going, have a little bit more transparency. And with all the nonprofits that we have out there, we need to get a lot of these great ideas that I'm hearing firsthand on the same page and implemented as part of programming. Now, do I feel there's a facility needed? Yes, but it needs to be a long term, because now when we look at most of these detox, they're 5 to 7 days, then the rehab begins, and not everybody does have to go to that. A lot of court orders are just to get them sober. But if you just said earlier, we need to teach better financing in schools. We need to help program these young individuals on how to build a better life as an adult. Well, that same thought process has to be applied to addiction. We can't just put them into prison and say, hey, when you come out, we're going to clean you up and we're going to help you out. No, what we need to do is a long-term programming that we're not only trying to reprogram their brains with realizing that they can live without the necessity of these drugs and alcohols, but we also have to make sure we set them up for success on how to properly finance. How long have they been on the street, John? They have no idea about what financing is. They don't even have most likely a bank account. There is no money to their name. So when you go back to that despair, it's going to be easier for them to slide back, to backslide, so to speak. So I think that the conversation is important. I'm not dismissing your opinion. I think that we can get together and not allow this just to happen in certain states like we're seeing and say, well, they can be where they want. Now they're setting up tents and they're disrupting businesses and their right to create revenue to create, to sustain their family. I don't think that's right. But I also don't think just putting them in jail and hoping that that's
We don't have a lot of time. I have a different polarity on the thing.
Yeah.
What we're doing is not working,
That I can agree with.
okay?
I think we both agree on that.
Letting these people retain their rights is absolutely ridiculous. Got these texts. Another fantastic show by Cliff. He breezed through the random history at the beginning. Thank you, Anthony, for fighting so hard for our city and staying so classy. In doing so, you have my vote. And the last one, John, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I agree, but right now, we're just sending them a check. We're not bringing them any water. We're just sending them a check, and they're abusing that and keeping their drug addiction. It's terrible what we're subsidizing.
But you remember that those 600 jail cells used to be filled in the winter with snowbirds.
No, I'm not. Cliff, it's not being used because the building's not air conditioned. That's why the building's not being used.
But we used to put people in there because they would commit petty crimes in the fall to get 6 months in the jail, and the courts said, no, we're not doing that anymore. And I think that you'll be up against the courts if you try to put them in jail.
If we exercise the executive order that President Trump put out there, and I know a lot of people hate Trump's guts, but we have an excuse to forcibly take somebody you love who's addicted to drugs, who's sleeping on the street tonight, and you cry and worry about them every single day because it's your daughter. I think she deserves, let's try to straighten her out. Give her 3 months in the prison. Doesn't go on her record. Let's try to straighten her out. That's all I'm trying to do.
I think if we were to swap prison with facility, I think that I'd buy into that a little bit more, and I think that we can do that. If we're talking about that money that's not being spent correctly, what we can do is try to formulate an idea with a facility behind it that we can have that same thought process. But I think that violating, and I don't think there's due process in that. I think that being homeless isn't a crime. I think if they're soliciting and they're panhandling, yes, that's now mingling with some crimes or breaking of laws. But to just go ahead and categorize them, even if there's nothing on their record, I think what you do is dehumanize them. So now they feel that they're in jail rather than a facility that's going to treat their illness rather than the criminality behind it, or at least what people's perspectives are of looking at their plight and just dismissing it as criminal. I think that dehumanizes them, and I think that's going to further exacerbate their addiction. I think we have to make sure we treat them with dignity, and we take that same thought process and apply that to a facility that we can have the bed space. That's
Anthony,
the
you
issue.
can throw all the wonderful dignity words out there. What we're doing is a lot of word fluff. Let's talk about this some more. Let's have a committee. What we're doing is not work. People are dying today.
I agree.
Let's fix this nowzo. Let's put them in jail in September. And if you don't like it, fix it in the spring. This has got to happen now. People are going to die in the winter.
I think when we have that spectrum, though, we always die on the hill on going to the extreme, one side or the other. I think, again, that middle conversation has to take place where we can keep their dignity. I don't feel that's a fluff word, but we can also have the effectiveness of where that money is going on.
The talk ain't working. It ain't, what we're doing is not working. Let's talk about this some more. more people are going to die.
And right back to not take too much time up to Cliff's point, that's one of the things, one of the big things that I'm running on is making sure that what John is saying, what I am saying, we can meet in the middle and have a better process, because this one is not currently as working as well as it should. And I think that's, again, that's one of the many that we discuss now, but that is one I am prioritizing. Dual diagnosis, proper treatment, applying dignity, and making sure that we have something better than what's working, or should I say not working now.
Sorry, 60 seconds, kids.
Okay, it's time for your elevator speech.
I think I just kind of went through it, but I will say I am encouraging all of you to check out my social media. Make sure you have an idea of who I am and what I stand for. Reach out, ask your questions. I would love to have that transparency with you. And when I knock on your door and I ask you what your concerns are, please engage with me and let me know in depth what it is that you want to see change up there. Just like John's opinions, I want to respect those and see if we can apply a solution to that. So please be willing to engage, and I will have information released on my next campaign party. And maybe, John, you could put that up here as well, like you did with the other ones. I'd love for that, to be able to have that advertised.
We'll get you back here again, too.
Oh, perfect. And then lastly, Cliff, I would love to see if you consider this conversation with your wife and then have a sign in your yard.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
If you're a candidate or you know a candidate, would like to have them on, just reach out to John or myself, and
And
you can
have a
come
good
on
weekend.
for an hour or 2 hours.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
And thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Eileen.
June, July, what month we talking?
We can do June if you'd like. I love the idea so far. It seems like I've been on a monthly basis, and if you're okay with that, I'm actually quite good.
So why don't you think about going June 12th?